They called it a children's story, but it was really a confession of the human condition. Welcome, mystic seekers. Tonight, we descend into the strange world of Pinocchio, a story of wood and soul, of innocence crafted by trembling hands. Most know it through the soft glow of Disney's 1940 animation, a cheerful puppet, a kind old man, a wish upon a star. But beneath the music and marionettes lies something far older and infinitely darker. Because Pinocchio was never meant to be a tale of childhood dreams. It was a meditation on sin, guilt, and the excruciating path toward becoming human. Was Geppetto really a loving father, or a man playing God? And was Pinocchio's journey toward humanity a miracle or a punishment? Let's begin where the strings were first pulled. It begins in 1881 in the serialized pages of Giornale per I Bambini, Italy's first children's magazine. The author, Carlo Collodi, a man who had fought in the Italian wars of independence and lost faith in both country and God. His puppet was not Disney's smiling boy. He was mischievous, cruel, and self-destructive, a wooden creature who laughed at morality and spat at love. In Collodi's version, Geppetto carves Pinocchio from a block of talking wood. The moment the puppet's head is shaped, it begins to mock its creator. A child born before its soul, a parody of life itself. Collodi was writing at the dawn of industrialization, when humanity's machines were beginning to imitate life. The wooden boy was an echo of man's own creation myth, God forming Adam from dust. But this time, it wasn't heaven that gave breath, it was man. Was Pinocchio's laughter really joy? Or the first scream of something unnatural, realizing it should not exist? But that was only the beginning. In the early chapters, Pinocchio is not innocent, he is sin incarnate. He runs away, he lies, he kills the talking cricket with a hammer. Collodi's Pinocchio is eventually hanged from a tree by two conmen, a marionette dangling lifelessly in the wind. It's a shocking image, and it was meant to be the end. Collodi originally wrote Pinocchio as a tragedy. The puppet dies for his defiance, strangled by the strings he refused to cut. It's the ultimate punishment for disobedience, a wooden Christ, sacrificed not for others, but for his own rebellion. Only after readers begged for mercy did Collodi resurrect him, a puppet granted another chance. But the shadow of that hanging never leaves the story. From that point on, Pinocchio becomes a parable of repentance. Every lie, every temptation, every misstep is paid for with suffering. The message is clear: to become human, one must first endure the pain of morality. In Disney's version, Pleasure Island is a place of laughter until the laughter turns to screaming. In Collodi's, it's the land of toys, a world where boys can play forever without rules or conscience. But the price is transformation. The boys slowly become donkeys, beasts of burden, enslaved and sold. This is not a warning about childish mischief. It's an allegory for the human soul dissolving in indulgence. The donkey, the ass, was a medieval symbol of ignorance, lust, and material slavery. In chasing freedom, the children lose their humanity. In chasing pleasure, they become beasts. And Pinocchio's terror as his ears grow long, as his voice cracks into a bray, it's the sound of every human who has ever traded conscience for comfort. But that was only the beginning. Swallowed by a monstrous whale, Pinocchio descends into darkness, the archetypal night sea journey. Inside the whale's belly, he finds Geppetto pale, starving, and half mad. Father and son reunited inside a living tomb. It is here, not in any workshop or fairy's light, that Pinocchio becomes real. Because it's in darkness, in confinement, that one begins to awaken. The whale, in Gungian symbolism, represents the unconscious, the place where the ego dies so the soul may emerge. To escape the belly, Pinocchio must abandon selfishness and embrace sacrifice. He rescues his father, not himself. Only through that act, through love, not obedience, does he earn his humanity. The blue fairy radiant, motherly, and cruelly divine. She appears at each turning point, to reward, to punish, to resurrect. But her power feels less like mercy, more like control. She is fate itself, the unseen hand of moral law. To disobey her is to suffer. To please her is to survive. Yet even when she saves Pinocchio, it's conditional. Prove yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish, she says, as if humanity were something to be earned through suffering. The blue fairy represents religion in its most paradoxical form, salvation that must first break you. The image of Pinocchio's growing nose, one of the most iconic symbols in all fiction. Each lie he tells, his nose grows longer, a grotesque, physical manifestation of inner rot. It's not just about honesty. The nose, placed at the center of the face, represents identity. When he lies, his very self becomes distorted. Collodi seems to say that every falsehood pulls us further from humanity, that to lie is to return to wood. It's the loss of the soul, measured in inches. And in a modern sense, this is the story of all of us. Each time we hide behind masks, roles, and performances, the human face grows a little less real. Geppetto, kind, lonely, desperate. But what drives a man to carve a child from dead wood? He is both father and Frankenstein, a symbol of mankind's need to imitate creation. He wants not companionship, but control, a being that will obey him, love him, reflect him. In psychoanalytic terms, Geppetto represents the parent archetype, the source of both love and trauma. And Pinocchio's rebellion mirrors the universal struggle of every child. The fight to become real without becoming identical to the parent. Was Geppetto's wish for a real boy an act of love, or narcissism disguised as devotion? At the story's end, the puppet dies again, this time, metaphorically. The wooden body lies lifeless on the chair, while a real boy awakens beside it. Collodi writes that Pinocchio looks at his own dead form with tender joy. It's an unsettling image, a child smiling at his own corpse. But it is also enlightenment, the ego watching itself dissolve. To become real, the puppet must die. Not physically, but spiritually, surrendering his wooden artificial self to become something capable of love and pain. This is not a happy ending, it's transcendence through death. Pinocchio is not a story for children, it's a mirror for adults. It's about the birth of conscience, the painful evolution from instinct to morality. Every lie, every punishment, every transformation is the psyche learning to suffer, so it can feel. The strings symbolize control by society, by guilt, by authority. The puppet's rebellion is freedom. His suffering is the price of self-awareness. The whale is the unconscious mind devouring the false self so the true one may emerge. And the blue fairy. She is the superego, the divine voice that both nurtures and torments. In the end, Pinocchio is humanity itself, a species carved from dust, yearning for a soul. Disney told us that truth makes you human. Collodi told us that suffering does. Pinocchio's story is not about obedience, but awakening. He begins as a creature of impulse, lies, pleasure, rebellion, and only through consequence does he find consciousness. To become real is not to become perfect, but to become aware. The true horror of Pinocchio is that we are all still made of wood, walking through the world, hoping pain will someday make us real. Maybe Pinocchio was never just a puppet. Maybe he was the part of us that wants to be alive, the part that breaks, lies, hurts, and keeps trying anyway. And maybe, just maybe, the strings were never meant to hold him. They were meant to show him he was never free.